We're talking candlesticks. And what changed for me as a day trader? When I first started day trading, I just thought it was all about just, following the price action and just looking at like where the price was going. But over time, I learned that it was much more about learning how to read the candles and asking yourself what is going on based on what the candlestick is showing you. I'm going to talk about that right here in this video. So if you want to learn more about day trading, candlesticks, and all that fun stuff, make sure you stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Patrick here, and today we're talking about candlesticks. Candlesticks. It's funny because when I first started trading, I really just thought that it was about, like putting trends and like finding support and resistance and just being like, okay, it's at a resistance, I'm gonna sell. Oh, it's at a support level, I'm gonna buy. Things like that. That's all I thought it really came down to. And obviously, that's very important to understand how those things work. But the longer that I've traded, the longer that I've really just kind of spent time perfecting the craft. And by no means am I an expert at this point. But the longer that I've been doing this, the longer I've seen different patterns. I've seen the candlesticks really kind of like, okay, well, I've seen this before, like where a candlestick really bounces back. It shows me that there's strength there. I've seen these patterns multiple, thousands and thousands of times. But training your brain to be able to recognize that and be like, hey, this is going up, or hey, this is going down. And I want to use an example from today I think this is a really good example of this working in my favor, understanding how this candlestick works. Now, if you watched my video from today, you would have saw that I went short here on the ES. I went short thinking that, okay, we had resistance here, we had resistance here. So basically like a lot of resistance in this area. So if I was trading purely from support and resistance, well, I would think that this was a good area to short. Now, obviously, we already know what happened. We know the resolution, so it's like trading in hindsight, but I did trade this in real time, so you can watch the video here on the channel and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. But in general, let's look at this, right? So we had resistance, almost like, oh my gosh, a double top. But there was one thing that was very telling here that really kind of gave me a reason to get out of the short when I did. And if you saw the video, you would have seen when I got out. Now, we had this move to the downside. We pushed back up to that resistance. And then I'm thinking, okay, this is the time. If it's going to happen, if it's going to roll off, if the price action is going to start moving back down, this is the moment because we're hitting resistance. We're showing that there is selling pressure here. Again, you got this candle here showing selling pressure. You can see the tops of these candles having the wicks there. So when the price pushed up there, it did end up hitting that resistance. The sellers came in. So I was short here. I think I was short like at the 1550 area here. So we can put a line like, okay, I'm short right there. Now, the price action ended up moving down almost 3 handles from where I shorted at. So it wasn't that it was a terrible trade, but like I said in the video, I had really good risk to reward for this trade because obviously if it did break to the downside, you're looking at a 10 handle, maybe a 5 handle move where my risk really, for me, if I'm putting my risk on this, I'm going to risk off the tops of these candles knowing that that's kind of my top resistance, right? So I'm shorting here at the 115 and my stop loss, my mental stop loss, or really my stop on this trade was right above these candles, seeing that we had the wicks, right? When I say wicks, I'm talking about that line right there, that wick. That's why it's called a candlestick, because there's wicks, like a candle. Now, we see that there's selling pressure there. We see there's selling pressure there coming in. So at that point, I'm short, and guess what? We got that move down. But if you can see here, the price action, the candle itself, I'll try to really pull this up here. This candle right here was very telltale because the price dropped down like it was going to break to the downside, like it was going to start selling off, but all of a sudden it just rocketed right back up. So it went down to the 112 area, kind of holding this little trend area, but then shot right back up. Now, even though that candle closed red, as you can see here, it closed red, the price action went from 112 back to 114. So instantly it dropped down there, the buyers came in and it pushed back up. So that candle right there is telling me, what is it telling me? It's telling me that there are buyers that are stepping in there willing to buy at that level to push the price higher. Now, if this would have dipped down here to the 112 area and then popped back up, but then, the body of the candle would have been down here on the close, like if this would have closed at the 112 area, I think it would have been a different story. But because the price action rebounded so quickly and it showed the market showed that there were buyers at that level, that pushed the price back up. We continued to then push back up to that resistance area. And at that point, it was pretty simple to see if we break to the upside, if we break through this resistance, seeing those candlesticks, if we break through that resistance, well, there's our move up to the 122 area. So from 115 to 122, that's a beautiful move all day long. Now, later on, you can see I had a little bit of trouble again, but look at these candles there when it gets to the top, right? We're at the top. We're having trouble. We're kind of just going sideways there. So at that point, I'm really just, if I'm going to trade this, I'm going to basically look at it like, okay, there's my resistance. There's my support area here, right? I put my support area here. So there's our channel that we're in, consolidating to the sideways, going sideways there. Now, the thing is, if you look at these candles, we're kind of bouncing up to that resistance. We pull back. We have this little doji candle there. And then again, we have this selling pressure coming in there on the tops of these candles. So if we were, bouncing off this support area, we should have had a wick here on the bottom of that candle. So there's that move to the downside. But I'm not going to get all, hindsight 2020 kind of thing here. We're going to focus on just kind of why I did the trade that I did today, knowing that what we saw with the candlesticks and why it's so important when you are trading. Even that I know that there's resistance there. I'm short, right? I know there's resistance. But when that candle showed me like, wow, squeeze back up there. We got that big wick. We squeeze back up there really quickly. If you watch the video, you can see it happen live. The price action just went right back up to that retest of that resistance area. So at that point, well, it's telling me that it's probably a good time to get out of that short. So I was able to get out of the short for break even. I think a little bit of profit, but I got out for break even there instead of letting this run up to that resistance and getting stopped out and being like, well, I'm going to wait. Because like I said, in the past, I would have traded it in a way that I would have just left this trade and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to get out of the trade until it breaks that resistance. I'm not going to get out until it breaks above that resistance and then stops me out. But instead, I identified that candle, seeing that wick on the bottom of that candle and being like, okay, now I need to do something because it's showing me that the buyers are stepping in. At that point, I ended up moving my stop down, and then I ended up getting stopped out for break even. But like I said, in the past, I would have traded this very simply, just support resistance and not being able to really look at that candle and being like, there's a big wick on the bottom of that candle. I should probably rethink this short. I should rethink that this price action might not move down from here. I should rethink that price action there. So that's really important to think about. And it's also very important to not just be stuck, hardcore on a bias. Like if you think a opportunity is a short and then you see a candle like this happen where you get this pushback from that level, if you see that, you got to be able to switch. I wouldn't say you have to switch right away, but you have to be able to, be like, okay, maybe my idea, my thesis wasn't correct. Maybe I should be looking for a long opportunity here, seeing that the price action is moving back after selling off this morning, pushing back up there. Maybe this is not going to be a roll off, but maybe this is going to be a break to the upside there. We're at like all-time highs right now in the market as well, so it's kind of like very just like, sporadic, erratic, all over the place there. It's getting dangerous at the point as a trading because it's just like, every day we're just hitting all-time highs over and over, and it's like, okay, finally, we're going to get a pullback at some point here. But in general, until then, I'm going to be looking for opportunities long and short when they present themselves and really focusing on the candlesticks and asking myself, hey, what's this candlestick showing me? When I get that push back up, what is that showing me? Like this here. All right, we get this big sell-off down there, and then guess what? This big green candle comes in. Look where this candle, we get the wicks on the bottom of these candles, right? The wick on the bottom of those two candles there. Wick, and then boom, the price action pushes back up. It closes above this previous resistance area, a little bit of resistance there on that candle, you know, that wick there and all that. So it pushes back up there. It closes, showing that there's buyers stepping in there, showing that there's literally there was no wick at the top there. That's telling me very bullish that this candle, that the price action wants to move back higher from there after that sell-off. So be looking for these things. Be, you know, really analyzing the candlesticks and kind of looking at it like as like almost like a video game or like an emotion, being like, hey, I wonder what this is really meaning here. If this candle's pushing back up like that, it closes big green candle after that big sell-off. Could this be a pivot point or, you know, a bounce back at that point? So when you're trading, look at the candles. Ask yourself, you know, what are you seeing? What are the candles showing you? What are they saying in general? You know, when you got all this red, 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 obviously the price is moving down. But then after we get that kind of, okay, boom, boom, little bit of, you know, little slowdown of the price action after that sell-off, and then there's a big green candle there, well, hey, we should probably be thinking about maybe the price action wants to move back up from there. So really analyze those candlesticks, my friends. Really analyze those candlesticks.